Hey friends, how you doing today? It's Tuesday, so that means it's time for Tuesday's tip. And you know, I'm still not sure that I like this whole background issue, so I'm testing it out. I'd love if you are watching maybe on a replay or hashtag live, whether this fading bit around my hair is really bothering you, or if it's okay, or did the graphic actually catch your attention? Actually, that's not the topic of today's tip. Today's tip is really more around mistakes that I have made during my podcasting. And for season 2, which is coming up, I think it's episode 69, which we are releasing today. I can't believe episode 69, right? Who would have thought? When I started my podcast, I had no idea where this was going to take me. And when I started my podcast, I'll be honest, there were mistakes that I made and things that, they're not critical mistakes, but things that could help me get my message out in a bigger and better way. And in the episode 69, which is, here, I'm going to talk about 5 of these. But what is really critical is I'd love for you to look at those mistakes and how can you apply it even though you don't have a podcast. So here's what I mean. I'm going to talk about why I needed to take my own advice in my podcast. What was it that was so important that I needed to take my own advice? It is a growth strategy that you've been hearing me talk a lot about. So that's one thing I'm going to talk about in that podcast episode. And the other thing is, I talk in this podcast episode about why I chose this new name for my podcast. I guess I got to go this way. Work less, profit more. And the hint that I have for you is how could you use this hint, this tip, this whatever you want to call it, this strategy when you are naming your own programs, products, or services? It has nothing to do with whether you have a podcast, but it has more to do with about the naming of it. And so I'm going to share that strategy with you in this podcast episode. I'm also going to share with you about another way for you to get some assistance or some support from me. So here's what I'm talking about. I'm launching what are going to be called profit potential audits. Now, if you're listening to this or watching this, hashtag live, hashtag replay, I'm wondering if any of you attended my live events that I used to host. Well, when I hosted those live events, one of the things that people loved was when a volunteer came up on stage. We talked a little about their business, and I gave them some coaching right then and there on the spot. Well, that's what profit potential audits are going to be. And every month during the last week of the month, I'm going to run several of these. And we're just now working on the automation so that you can sign up, so that you can get on my podcast, talk about your business, but also get some support from me. So that's what we have for Tuesday's tip. It's all about how can you take what I learned from my podcast and apply it to your business, even though you might not have a podcast. Thanks so much for listening and watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye for now.